I assume, a male student wearing a female garments, correct?
Yes.
What's the difference between that and somebody wearing a swastika coming to school? What's the difference? How do we say that one is right and one is wrong?
No,
now, I have been told too, what used to be right is now wrong, what used to be wrong is now right. But as you're saying, based on what these teachers are telling you, everything is accepted. So what's the difference then between a male student wearing female garments and some person wearing a swastika? What's the difference?
That's a great example, because they would tell the person who was wearing a swastika to go home.
Why?
That's a wonderful question. Why not tell them both to go home? And what I'm feeling, right? It seems like they pick and they choose on the side of what I would call sexual perversion or confusion of identity. They're very, very what's the word? Careful not to offend gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, and at some point it'll be bestiality, because that's the next thing. And this is what's going on in our schools. There is not a right and there is not a wrong. But you come to school in a swastika, you come to school with a provocative Christian shirt with a big cross on it, okay? They'll tell you to take it off.
Angelo, in the past, as you know, in baseball, you had what was called the Negro, team, and then of course we have a team now where we have both Afro Americans and Caucasians and different ethnic groups. Do you think that has produced a better sport of baseball?
Without a doubt it has. I mean, you can make any kind of proven point that an African American player has more athleticism or ability. But I think that everyone should be given a chance, regardless of what color or creed you are. Just if you can do the job, you can do the job. I know personally, if I was a coach, or coaching a football team, it wouldn't matter what you were. I'd want 54, 52 guys hungry that are hitting hard and cracking heads. And at the end of the game, that's what's called a team. Racism basically doesn't, how can I say, exist as much as it did in the Jackie Robinson era. But you know what? If you're an athlete, you can get the job done. You could be on my team any day.
Absolutely.
To our caller, your question or comment, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Your question or comment?
Yes, I'm calling as far as the bullying. I don't know. As far as going to school, like the gentleman in the middle said, you don't want any problems. You don't go dressed the way some people go dressed. But as far as I'm concerned, you dress the way you want. You pay your bills, your parents pay your bills, and it's no one's business otherwise. It's not just kids bullying on kids. I know for a fact teachers bully on kids like that. So unless you teach them to get along yourself, the teachers, they're not going to learn. They're going to pick up where they left off, the teachers, because I've seen it. I've heard it. I say you wear what you want. If people just let people alone these days, it would be a better place to live in. Maybe some people don't think it's right, and some don't think it's, wrong. But to each his own. How would everybody like someone pointing? You have something on your face, you shouldn't have it. You have, the wrong colored clothes. Just leave people alone, and I think it would be a lot better.
To our caller, what do you think about required school uniforms for the public school?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you. You faded out.
Basically, what is your take on requiring students to wear public, uniforms in a public school?
Oh, I think that's one thing they should have had a long time ago. If the schools demanded uniforms for kids in school, like in our days, I'm not 80 or nothing, but in my days, you wear uniforms, there would be no trouble with what kids wear. And not only that, it's like they let these kids dress so much out of place that I see them. The girls wearing pants way down to their hips. That to me is ridiculous. Regardless to what the parents say, I know a lot of girls sneak out that way, dress that way. But you know, there should be uniforms. Not only that, a lot of parents hate the fact that metal detectors shouldn't be in the schools. Well, these days, with the things going on, I would agree that there should be, because I know for a fact kids who carry knives, anything that they're not supposed to in their backpacks. Now, when something happens, right away the parents that don't want the metal detectors in the schools, they're crying and screaming and going, you know, crazy. I am all for the school is a school to learn, not to bring knives in, not to be bullying, not to be anything.
That's right.
Just like the colleges. They're there to learn, but they're allowed to have alcohol, party. You know, it's not right. They can smoke. I figure if you're going to do that, you do it outside, not in the schools. But they give these kids too much freedoms in the school. The way they dress, the colleges, they can drink, they can smoke. I mean, and nowadays, God forbid if we had a piece of hair out of place. You know? And it's just not right.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And let me add to what the caller is saying. Remember, I'm not talking about articles of clothing. I'm talking about cross-dressing and being flamboyant about it. And what I'm saying is that's if you're into that, then that needs to be done privately, because there might be someone it's beyond offended by that. You see what I mean? And you're almost inviting a confrontation. That's where I was coming from. It's not whether or not the skirts are too high or the shirts are too low, but when I was told by that teacher, oh, by the way, we have someone who cross-dresses every day, and not only that, they're trying to get other people to do the same, okay, he was trying to stretch that out, then I know if I was in this school, I mean, I hate using that word offended, but I would definitely take notice.
Angela, getting back to sports and the fact that years ago you did have an all-Negro baseball team. But what I noticed today, though, like with some of the basketball teams, it almost seems like it's all Afro-American. So has anything really changed?
Yes, it has, actually. If you recall, the team that won the championship, their best player was a white player, okay? I think a lot of the good players now today are coming from, and you're going to find out, you know, from this win. I forgot the guy's name.
Davitsky?
Davitsky, right. I think this guy winning the championship, not him, but his team actually won it, and they beat a very good team in that with a bunch of African Americans, and it proved they can be beaten with teamwork. Beats anything, beats any race. But I think the European basketball player now will become more abundant in the NFL. The NBA. You'll see more Europeans in the draft than there were. I believe half the draft this year was from Europe that were drafted.
Why is that happening?
Obviously, they see
better training.
That's quite possible. You know what I mean? I think it might have like maybe a little better amateur program. You see a lot more Europeans coming to play major College I basketball now. You know, they have you seen in the past. But like getting back, I mean, it's irregardless of what your skin color is. You know what I mean? Let's bring it all together, model it together. It could be a little white clay, it could be a little black clay. When you put it all together, and the trophies are sculpted the way it's irregardless. You know what I mean?
And let me just add that the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and he is encouraged to make the NBA a global sport. And that's why you see the influx and input of players from Lithuania and Croatia and places like that. It's politically expedient for him to do so.
Angelo, getting back to, let's say, the European countries, which country do you think really produces the best athletes? Just looking at, the European countries.
Well, I mean, I don't think you could pinpoint an exact country. You know what I mean? In obviously certain sports, there's not so many abundant in certain sports. I mean, obviously some of the South American countries, for baseball. Some of the old Ukraine and Russian countries are, basically dominated. Poland, any sport basically has a percentage of good athletes. Even China, with Yao Ming and some of the Asian countries. So I don't think you can really pinpoint one certain country. Certain sports you can pinpoint a country. Well,
the Iranians do have a great wrestling program.
They do, okay. Well,
and they do very well with freestyle.
I know the Russians did quite well with boxing.
Very well
the Klitschko brothers.
Talking about boxing, Muhammad Ali, what went wrong with him? What was the story? He was such a Cassius Clay was such a great champ, and then today, I mean, it's almost a pathetic scenario with him.
It definitely is. I think he suffers, a lot of people say he suffers from Parkinson's syndrome. I think he really suffers from pugilistic dementia, taking too many shots to the head. He basically saw a heavyweight who was probably the guy that basically changed boxing, is boxing, the stamp of boxing, He took a lot of pounding from George Foreman's and some of the heavyweights, and that, over a 15-20 year period of taking that pounding, it's going to catch up to you.
Does that go on much today? I know we're connected with American Kickboxing Federation. I can tell you, as the head judge, these refs are very quick to call a fight if they even suspect if somebody is in trouble, physically.
Oh, without a doubt. I think there's we'll just take for instance professional boxing. There's a new rule that came, the Muhammad Ali Act, which basically was passed by John McCain. He was the senator behind it. And I was talking to somebody about that earlier, and it's there to protect. Every commission now in every state is there to protect the fighter. And in the past, I think 15-round fights and letting fights go too long, were the thing to do, the barbaric type thing. Now it's basically let's protect these kids. This is a rough sport. It's an extremely rough sport, and any sport is. If someone gets hurt, let's just end it. There's nothing more to prove than what hurt somebody. I mean, that's just not a good thing to do to any athlete.
Okay. To our caller, your question or comment, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Tony. I'm Angie Gold's trainer.
Hey, Tony, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
I guess you found your way to the phone, right? What's going on, buddy?
Nothing. I can hardly hear you, bro. You on now?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and this is a sports talk?
Yes, somewhat, yes.
Okay, so we don't have to stick to boxing, right?
Whatever you like, Tony. Go ahead.
Well, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead.
Here's the question. What's with this cricket game that the British people play? I have no idea what this thing is all about. It's like baseball and golf put together. Do you know anything about this cricket?
I have no idea about cricket at all. I want to be completely honest with you.
I've been watching this, and I kind of compare it to the Ninja Warrior. The Ninja Warrior on TV has got to be the most ultimate of all physical abilities. But then I watched cricket the other day, and I was like, I couldn't figure out what these guys were doing.
I think it's basically dominated in
England, right?
England, yeah, in England.
And they played on a horse, right?
Played on a horse. That's very good.
And like a croquet stick.
They play on a horse. They walk around and they hit
that's right.
little horseshoes that are standing up, and they wear these crazy shorts. I don't know what the heck they wear. It's a crazy uniform for doing this, and then they all have a good time at the end. I can't figure out who wins or loses.
Tom, we'll have to talk about that in our next training session. I'll do a little more research for you, I promise.
Okay, thanks for calling. Caller, your question or comment, please. Go ahead.
I'm wondering, this question is for Big Hands. Why do you think MMA has become so big?
Oh, what's going on, Dave? How are you?
What's up, buddy?
I think mixed martial arts has become huge for a couple reasons. I think a lot of kids in the mainstream, basically when they grew up, they took martial arts, and they see a little connection to the sport. And I think there's a little bit of influence in mixed martial arts, regardless of what you take in, taekwondo or jiu-jitsu or boxing. You see it. You see it mainstream. I also think it's a little bit of like pro wrestling. You know what I mean? I think you pick a fighter and you basically follow him. You know what I mean? He's your favorite guy, like Hulk Hogan was, or something like that. But the main thing is, I think people, we talk about so many sports out there, the NBA and baseball and football, but MMA has been, and you can attest to this, Al, MMA has been around since the Romans. It's barbaric. Thousands of people came to see two guys go at it. You know what I mean? People like blood. They like guts. They like seeing somebody stop breathing for a couple seconds. That's why I think MMA is really taking a liking, because it's all come together. Real, a little unreal, basically a sport that a lot of people can relate to.
I can tell you this right now, that being involved in MMA, although I do mostly grappling with Naga, I like pankration, which is a combination of boxing and grappling. I used to tell some of my former trainers, and they weren't too happy about it. It was actually my eldest son, when he was a senior at Richfield High School. He